Hi, this is Pat Bruff from Fink and Paris Insurance Agency. Welcome to our podcast, Local and Mighty, the podcast about Massachusetts personal and commercial insurance in plain English, mixed in with a little bit of fun. Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Fink and Paris podcast, Local and Mighty. It's me again, Pat, and this episode's guest is a very long distance guest. It is my brother and the owner of Pillar to Post Home Inspectors, the Bruff team, Jamie Bruff. How you doing, Jamie?
Very good, Pat. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you. So I asked Jamie to join me for this episode for a couple of reasons. First, because this episode is being recorded in early November, and it's that time of year when we start to prepare for winter. I thought, who better to combine a discussion about preparing for winter and making sure your home is ready than someone whose job it is to make sure that your house is right and ready if you're about to buy it. I should also mention that Jamie knows about preparing for winter because he is coming to us live via Zoom from Wasilla, Alaska. So at the start of every podcast, I like to give our guests some time to kind of tell us who they are and how they got to Alaska. So with that, take it away, Jamie. Let's hear a little bit about you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Pat. Again, Jamie Bruff with Pillar to Post Home Inspectors, the Bruff team here in Wasilla, Alaska. Since you know Pat is my brother, you guys know I'm not from Alaska. I am from New England. But winters here are not a whole lot different. We'll get into that later. Yep. A little bit about me. We moved here. My wife and I moved here almost 6 years ago in May of 2015. We opened our business here 3.5 years ago here in Wasilla, Alaska, and we can go anywhere in the whole state, but obviously that would be a nightmare. Just realize how big the state is. Take a look, you'll see.
Yeah, you do get to fly. You get to fly to some places too, don't you?
Yeah, I can fly to some places. Going out to Kodiak Island for inspections out there. We go to Valdez, which is about a 4.5 hour ride one way from here.
Wow.
We go down to Homer, which is about a 3.5 hour ride, maybe 4 hours from here to do inspections. So
you get around.
Very large geographical area. So
wow, cool.
With very few people, believe it or not.
Yeah.
About 750,000 people in the entire state, spread over a very large area. So anyway, a little bit about how we ended up here. 2014, my wife and I had a life-changing event. After that event, we kind of sat down and made lists of all the things that were important to us or things that we wanted to do in our lives that everybody, including us, was waiting around saying, it's not the right time. I don't have the money to do that kind of thing. And, we sat down and made lists basically saying, if that was not an issue, what would you do? And one of the things on my list was living in Alaska. I wanted to check out Alaska. I wanted to come up here for a few years. And surprisingly, my amazing wife agreed to do that, even though she hates the cold. But she agreed to give it a shot. She gave me 3 to 5 years and said, if I hate it, we're moving someplace warm.
Yep.
And, that was almost 6 years ago. So
it sounds like you're doing all right.
I think we're here for the long haul.
Yeah.
As long as I take her someplace warm on vacation every year, I'm in good shape. So, so we do. We take off every year to someplace warm, usually in January sometime.
Yep.
Who knows what's going to happen this year? We might not be able to do that, but
time will tell. Time will tell.
Time will tell.
And Alaska's we talk occasionally here and there via text and stuff like that. But and you're trying to get us to come up there. I know we'll get there eventually.
Absolutely.
But you're saying, or you've always said that there's a lot of great things to do there. You guys are out and about when you're not working.
Right. There is so much to do here. There is so much to see here. Between being able to 4-wheel wherever you want to go, snow machining in the wintertime. Surprisingly, there's not a ton of places to ski and snowboard.
That's interesting.
There's one good one in Girdwood, Alaska. You can check that out if anybody wants to check out Girdwood, Alaska.
Yep.
And then they're opening up a small place right now. This is the first year they're going to open up, actually right behind us up in Hatcher Pass. It's about 10 minutes from our house. So I'm sure over the next few years that'll get bigger. But between the fishing, the hunting, if you're into that thing,
Yeah.
There is so much to do here. You just got to be outside, but
yeah.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, we'll get there. I see the pictures you guys post or share with us on a daily basis, of just your drives down the road of the giant mountains with the snow caps. And it's pretty cool. We hope we'll get
unbelievable.
There. I know we'll get there.
I know you will. I'll keep sending you pictures.
There you go. So it's funny. I wanted to record this. I was trying to get together to record this before the snow fell here in New England, but unfortunately Mother Nature did not allow for that because we actually did have snow last week. It actually snowed. We probably had 2 or 3 inches here in East Hampton. But the good news is it only stuck to the grass, so there was no shoveling or snow blowing or any of that stuff. So I was very, very happy. And here we are, a couple days later, and it's going to be 70 for the next 2 or 3 days. So typical New England weather. It's if you don't like what you have for the weather at the moment, just wait a few minutes and you'll get a new one. How about you guys? Any snow up there? What's happening up there?
Not quite the same here as we used to get. Well, I'm used to from New England, but once it gets cold here, that's it. It's
no more 70s.
No more 70s. That's gone. But we, like when it gets to Halloween, that's usually when everybody starts to say, okay, what's this is where the weather changes. So
yep.
It's either going to be in the 40s and raining, or it's going to be 10 degrees and sunny, and there'll be snow on the ground. So This year. We had a few inches of snow before Halloween, and from the time the snow fell, from then on, it's been single digits and 0 or below at night. It hasn't.
Wow.
Up.
Yeah,
so the few inches of snow that we got has stayed. It's kind of ice now versus snow, but as a matter of fact, last night it started snowing on our way home, and it's still dark here, so I don't know how much snow came down last night. So.
Speaking of being dark, I have to thank my brother. He did get the early gene. Like he says, he doesn't mind getting up early. I did not. But we're recording this, as I think I said, this is November 6th. It is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what time is it for you?
7 a.m. for me here. So
it's a little early. So I appreciate you getting up, and
absolutely
that really I appreciate it. So
sure.
All right, so let's jump into the home inspections and why it's important. So when you're buying a house, you have a lot of things you need to consider. Unless it's a brand new home, chances are you want someone to give the house a once over, kind of like when you're before you buy a car. You usually, if it's from a used lot or whatever the case may be, you want to kind of give it the once over before you drive it off. A house is a way bigger purchase. And so home inspections are something that are done pretty regularly. And it gives you kind of that once over of the house before you take the keys, so to say. In home inspections in general, they're not required. So they're not required by you guys, I'm assuming, up there in Alaska.
Correct. Right.
So tell me what a home inspection is for you. Let's everyone should get one. I say, unless it's a brand new house, and even a brand new house, you still at least have the contractor there to tell you. You're watching the whole thing being built, right?
So actually, I'll tell you that even with a brand new home, I would highly recommend a home inspection.
Really?
Highly recommend.
Okay.
They're not required. They're not required, mm-hmm. whether it's a new home or an existing home.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know. You wouldn't believe how often a home inspector will go into a brand new home, and the plumber who was finishing up the new build and doing all his plumbing connections on Friday night and wanted to hurry up and get out of there so he'd get to his buddies and have a few beers, forgot to connect the pipe underneath the sink in the kitchen.
Oh, geez.
You go in there and you turn the water on and water all over the place. It happens, right? Who's building your home?
Right.
Human beings.
Yep.
We're human.
Yeah.
So even in a new home, I would recommend it. at least to give the house a quick once over. You are correct in saying that home inspections are not required. They're not like appraisals. A lot of people will confuse appraisals with home inspections.
Right.
Appraisals are required.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Without sounding too negative, I'll tell you, so the home inspection is there to protect the home buyer.
Yep.
Okay. The appraiser is there to protect the bank's investment.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's why appraisals are required.
Yeah.
Home
right.
inspections are not.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we won't get into all that. Okay.
Yep.
Everybody understands.
But it's a logistic. It is what it is. Right. Yeah.
Right. And so that aside, let's talk about why home inspections are important just in general. Okay.
Yep.
A home inspector is going to give is an unbiased professional opinion of the condition and the maintenance of the home. Okay. We have no emotional attachment to the real estate transaction.
Right.
That's why it's important to have a home inspection or have a home inspector in your home. The buyers, even, I do a lot of home inspections for contractors that are buying their home, and they want somebody else to look at it because they're emotionally involved. So they will overlook certain things.
Yep.
Because there's a little puddle of water.
Because they want it. Yeah.
Yeah. They want the house. They want to put their family in it. They're in love with the house. Otherwise they wouldn't be, making an offer on the home. So,
right.
It's important because we take the emotional side out of it. And let you know our professional opinion of the home. So, I'll tell you what I tell a lot of folks, and some home inspectors that are listening to this might cringe when I say this, but I must say it anyway. Home inspectors are legitimately the jack of all trades and master of none. We know a little bit about everything.
Yep.
We don't know everything about anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're there to recognize when there's an issue and tell you who you should contact to get that issue corrected. That's it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think you've kind of summed up the why you need a home inspection. I think that really kind of nails it down. So, what's it like, when should the home inspection be done? Like, when is it typically done for you guys?
Okay. So for buyers, for folks who are buying a house, typically the area where we come into play is after our buyer has made an offer on the house and the offer has been accepted.
Okay.
They generally have, I'm not sure if it's the same everywhere, but I know here from the time their offer is accepted to the time to get their home inspection done is 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to get a home inspection done.
Okay.
So that's where we're in the process, is once the offer has been accepted on a home. Now, I and many other home inspectors, I don't know if every home inspector does this or not, but we offer pre-listing inspections as well. So that would be if you want to sell your home, you can get a pre-listing home inspection done. And then as a seller, what's going to come up in your home during the home inspection.
Interesting.
So what that does is it takes a lot of the negotiating power away from the buyer and puts it back in the seller's hands.
Because they know.
They already know. They know already, and they can get those items repaired before they put it on the market if they want.
Yep.
And then it gives the power back to the seller.
And do you see home buyers using that inspection, or even the sellers? Do you see them using that pre-home inspection to kind of show that this has already been done, or that somebody's already gone through the once over of the house? Or,
yes.
Or how often do you see somebody like saying, "Well, that's great, that's your home inspector, but I want to have mine come in"? Or
absolutely, that happens as well. For the amount of times that I've done pre-listing inspections, about half of those, the buyer still wants to have their own home inspection done, which they are absolutely entitled to do. I don't know if entitled is the right word, but they have the right to have that done. Because who knows? What if it's my buddy's house?
Right.
Hey, everything's great, right?
This place is awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'd buy it. So that does happen. And honestly, I can tell you, if I go in and do a home inspection today, and a different home inspector comes in tomorrow and does an inspection on the same house, they're not going to be exactly the same.
Okay.
And the reason for that is a lot of home inspectors are folks who were part of an industry, right? So they were an electrician
Okay.
before they became a home inspector.
Mhm.
So they tend to delve more deeply into the electrical aspects of the house because that's what they know.
Right.
Same thing if you have a builder or a framer
Yep.
has,
Plumber, whatever,
yeah, plumber, whatever. And it happens. There's a couple here who were in construction, building homes for many years, and fell off a ladder and injured their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't do that type of work anymore. So they moved into doing home inspections.
Yep.
So that's why you can see, different reports from different home inspectors, even though it's the same house.
Okay. So so like an insurance agent, we have to be licensed. So I'm assuming you have to be licensed as well. And that's pretty much a standard across the US. I mean, everyone needs to have a license to be a home inspector.
So not every state, believe it or not, is not the same.
Okay.
Every state is a little bit different. Alaska is actually one of the few states that requires you to pass the national exam to become a home inspector.
Wow. So it's a little tougher.
It's a little tougher here, which is a little weird, right? Because I've been here a while now. It wasn't until the late 70s and early 80s before they started building homes up to the standards of what the lower 48 was.
Okay.
You basically could buy a piece of property and nail some 2x4s together and some sheetrock on the inside and call it a house. I think they're a little tougher here because moving forward, they want to ensure that better, safer housing is built here.
Right.
And they also require here, if you want to do new construction homes, you have to have the ICC certification, which is the International Code Council, in order to do inspections on new construction homes.
Wow.
Not every state requires that either.
Yeah.
So every state is a little bit different, but every home inspector should be licensed, bonded, and insured. Absolutely,
there we go.
100%.
I agree 100%.
Yep.
So tell me, what is so kind of give me an idea of what I can expect from a home inspection. Like, what is it? What's going on so let's say I'm about to buy a house and I call up the Bruff team and I say, hey, I want you guys to do a home inspection for me.
Right. So what to expect from a home inspection is basically what you're asking. So here's how this works. The time it takes to do an inspection will vary, obviously, with size of the house, age of the house, actually quality of the house will also affect how long it will take to do a home inspection. So if you're the buyer or you're my client that I'm doing the home inspection for, what you should expect is probably anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of time to be at this property.
So when you say be at this property, do you mean me? I'm coming with you, or you're going by yourself and I'm just going to give you a check and you tell me what's up?
That's another part of it, right? So that is the client's option.
Okay.
Whether or not up here, it's the client's option. And the reason I keep it as an option is because I do a lot of inspections for people who aren't in the state yet. They're moving up here. They're buying a house sight unseen. So especially military, stuff like that, they haven't left their last duty station yet. So if folks want to come to the home inspection, which I always advise that they do, they can expect to spend anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, again, mostly depending on the size of the house. My average inspection is about 2.5 hours.
Okay.
And that's for a house that's, say, 2,000 square feet or less. Okay. Anything more than that, you're going to start adding on. Anything built prior to, say, the 1990, you're going to add a little bit more time for that.
Yeah.
So at least up here. What else? If you're the seller, if it's your home that is being inspected for the sale, the things that the home inspector that you should know from the home inspector is the home inspector is going to want to get into every area of that home. When I say every area, I mean you're going to need to get into the attic space.
Yep.
Okay. So if your attic space, which is typically in the closet of the master bedroom, it's usually where that access is, or it's in the garage. That area to get in there needs to be cleared out.
Yep.
If you have a crawl space, which is extremely common here, I know New England was more basements,
yep.
But here it's more crawl spaces. That's typically, again, located in a floor hatch, usually in the master bedroom closet. If there's no master bedroom, then it's in one of the bedroom closets. We need to get into that space also. So that area needs to be cleared out.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go into every room in the house.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is if you have pets at your house,
yep. That don't like people coming.
People are coming to your house. A lot of people will just put their dog in the garage. Well, guess what's in the garage? The water heater, the furnace, the electrical panel. I have to run the garage door to make sure it works and the safety aspects of the garage door opener work. And now I've got a dog in here that wants to run around and play.
Right.
It's one thing. I have had folks that will call me and let me know, here's the deal. Dog's a good dog. If when you need to go in the garage, bring the dog in the house, put him in the back bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand the dog.
Right.
But at first, you don't know the dog.
Dog doesn't know you.
Nice? Does he want to eat me? I don't know. I'm a stranger in your house.
Right. Right. So you always carry some kibble, right? Just in case.
No food whatsoever. That just brings them to you. So
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, so those are really the important things. We need to get into the electrical panel.
Every exit, every point in the house. Yeah.
Yeah. We will be in every single room. I will be running the heat. If you have air conditioning where you live, you're going to run the air conditioner during the summer. They're not going to try to run it in the winter.
Yeah.
But here we don't have air conditioning, so I don't worry about this. Just heat. So we're going to run the heat. We're going to run all the plumbing. We're going to run every shower. We're going to run every sink. We're going to run the hot water until the hot water heater kicks on. These are all the things people should be aware of.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is access, right? That's our biggest hang up. Like, we have to unload an entire closet full of stuff because I can't get to the attic hatch, or I can't get to the crawl space hatch, or somebody has built shelving on a wall across the electrical panel.
Oh.
And I can't get into the electrical panel. FYI, you have to have 36 inches of clearance in front of your electrical panel no matter where you live in the country. Okay, so don't
do that.
Shelves against that. Just a heads up. So yeah, that's basically it. And then they should also, again, plan for the same amount of time, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to be away from their house.
Yes.
The other side note for that is it's easier if the seller is not there, but the seller does not have to leave.
Okay. Interesting. I was going to ask that question.
They're home.
Yep.
You can't tell them to leave. But that does get awkward when you're walking through a house with a home inspection, with a home inspector, with the buyer, and you want to explain to them the things they need to be aware of. And then the seller wants to defend their home because they have a personal attachment to the house, emotional attachment.
That thing's always worked. Don't listen to this guy. That thing's always worked. I never had a problem with that in 30 years.
I don't care if that GFCI doesn't work. I've never had one of my kids get electrocuted there.
Right.
I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell from the selling side and the buying side there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Pillar to Post, so you're a national company. So I just want to touch back. So that was the time frame on how long it took and what the buyer and the seller can expect. But what are some of the things that are unique to the Pillar to? So Pillar to Post is a national organization, correct? Or
it's a franchise. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. And so you own a franchise, but they all generally use the same methodology for doing the inspections?
Correct. Yeah. So Pillar to Post is the largest home inspection franchise in the country, and Canada for that matter.
Wow.
There are over 570 franchisees across the country in Canada. But each office is independently owned and operated. So
Okay.
we all control our own businesses,
Mm-hmm.
but we have the same models. We use the same, Pillar to Post has developed their own app. So every franchisee uses the same app to do their inspections. So whether you're getting an inspection here in Alaska and 3 years later you move to Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
you can find a Pillar to Post guy in Georgia and you will get the same treatment. You will get the same products. You will get the same inspection report. It's almost like a McDonald's. Or I'll show you this because I just found this on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
I know people can't see this, but this here,
Yep.
that is a pen from Dunkin' Donuts. Okay.
Yep.
Same thing. When you get a Boston cream in Boston, you want that same Boston cream when you go to Kentucky, right? So you go to
Right.
Dunkin' Donuts, it's the same donut.
Right.
We don't have Dunkin' Donuts in Alaska. It's very sad.
Oh, that is very sad.
I miss my iced coffees from there. But yes, yes, and everybody gets the same training through Pillar to Post. But there are different things to look at, right? Like I said a few minutes ago, there's, in Georgia, there's a lot of air conditioning to look at. There's a lot of pools to look at, pool equipment, that kind of stuff. Up here in Alaska, I think I've seen 2 air conditioners.
No kidding.
At least a whole house air conditioner. I think I've seen 2 since I moved here 6 years ago.
Yep.
And a couple of years ago we had a really hot summer, but everybody bought window air conditioners. They don't install air conditioning systems.
Yep.
So I never have to worry about that. I never have to worry about inspecting pool equipment. There is no pool equipment here.
Right.
Again, I think I've seen 2 homes that have pools, but they were indoor pools.
Oh, wow.
$1.5 million house with an indoor pool.
Nice.
But that's it. I mean, everybody goes to the lake or they go to the river and it's cold.
So I will tell you, just as a quick Google search here, that, as Jamie said, Pillar to Post is a national company, and I did a quick, search, and I brought up, 3 or 4 of them actually right here in, the Google knows where I am. So, it brought up Pillar to Post home inspections in Westfield, one in Long Meadow, one in Enfield, one that's called, Western Mass. So you can definitely find them. They're everywhere if that's what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of, so that's who you guys are, what you can find. So what are some of the other things that you can expect, from a home inspection?
So there's a couple of different things, again, geographically, depending on where you are, that you can get additional things done during your home inspection. So for instance, radon. Depending on where you live, radon is a problem. Pennsylvania has a large quantity of homes and geographical areas that are affected by radon gas. Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer in the country, second only to smoking. The problem with radon gas or radon poisoning is you don't know you are being affected by it until you have lung cancer.
Yeah.
There are no pre-existing conditions. It's not like carbon monoxide poisoning, like where you feel sleepy and you're tired and this and that. There's nothing until you have it. So if radon gas is a problem in your area, you want to check if your home inspector does radon testing.
Yep.
I do radon testing here. It's not a huge problem here, but there are some pockets around us that have issues with radon. The other thing that we do, so I'll tell you, to make this a little easier, maybe I'll just kind of go into what Pillar to Post offers.
Okay.
As a company. So one of the things that makes us unique is we offer 3 different home inspection packages. Okay. And I'll run through them. It'll take me like 2 minutes.
Okay. Go for it.
The first package is called a Plus package. And the Plus package is really a basic home inspection. It's a 1,600 point inspection. You'll get a written report. You'll get a binder. We kind of go through the binder. I was going to show it to you, but people won't see it on the podcast. So it's a nice binder we put together. But it's a 1,600 point inspection. We're going to go through everything from the roof all the way down through the crawl space or basement, whatever you have, including the electrical, the plumbing, the structural aspects of the home, the hot water heating, and the overall condition of the home, including doors, windows, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
All right. The second package we offer is called a premium package. Okay. And the premium package is everything we just talked about in the first one. And then we add on infrared scanning. So we use an infrared camera to look at all your walls and floors that have plumbing running through them. And the reason we use that for that is because when wood or sheetrock gets wet, it appears colder than the rest of the area. So it shows up on the IR camera. And then we go back with a moisture meter to check and see if it's actually wet or if it's just a cold spot from lack of insulation or something like that.
Okay.
We put all the appliances in the house through an appliance recall check system. So as long as you own the home, you'll get an email. It'll tell you whether or not any of your appliances have a safety recall. If they do, it'll tell you who to contact in your area to get that corrected at no cost to you. If you upgrade your appliances later, you can go into that, take the old appliances out, put your new appliances in, just like a car. And if there's ever a recall on it, they will email you and tell you
what
the recall is and who to take care of that for you. With the premium package, we also do a rodent inspection. So every home inspector is always looking for signs of rodents, mice, bats, whatever the case may be in your area. With this package, if we find evidence that they're there, we're going to try to figure out where they're getting into the house, why they're getting into the house, and how to make that go away. What you can do in your home to stop that. And then we have an enhanced customer satisfaction guarantee that just simply says if you're not happy with me or the home inspection report or home inspection service I provide for you, we'll pay for another home inspection from a different home inspector that you choose up to the cost of our home inspection.
That's a pretty great guarantee.
Right?
Warranty. Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So that's the premium package. The prestige package is everything I talked about in the plus package, plus everything I talked about in the premium package. Plus we get into this prestige has what we call the healthy home package. So we will take air samples throughout the house. This is really geared towards people who have respiratory issues.
Okay.
So say you have in-laws that live with you that are on oxygen, you have COPD, or your kids have severe asthma or allergies.
Yep.
We would do this package and take air samples and possibly even carpet samples, depending on which home, what's the word I'm looking for here?
How old the house is, or
what style of collection of air or dust samples that home inspector uses in your area.
Okay.
They use a third-party laboratory. We take samples, we send that stuff off to a third-party lab. They run reports to see if there's any allergens in there, dust mites, pet dander, that kind of stuff that might affect people who are going to live in the home.
Right.
Some of that stuff is easy to clean up with a good deep cleaning. Some of that stuff is mold, and you have to tear stuff open and figure out where that's coming from. But that is the three different packages we offer. Okay. So I forget where I was going with that, because I'm getting old.
No. So what is, so I'm sure what your rates are up in Alaska. So, and again, I know folks from Alaska are listening to this. So if you could give me, what is a price range for something like, from the basic package to the prestige package. And then just in general, because I'm sure there are other home inspectors. I'm not, I'm just saying in general, because I want this to be informative for everyone. Like, this is your prices, but in general, you can expect to pay whatever.
So let's kind of say, let's use your area for, say, what's the average size home in your area, Pat?
Geez.
Is it 1,500 square feet? Is it 5,000 square feet?
I would probably say 2,400 square feet, somewhere in that range. 24 to 3,000, let's say.
Gotcha. So in our area, again, if you don't know this, you can Google it, but the cost of living here in Alaska is higher than most other places. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. So my prices might seem a little high compared to where you're at.
Yeah.
But for an average size house, anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
The Plus package, which is the basic package, runs $425.
Okay.
Okay. The premium package, which is the one with the infrared scanning and the rodent check and all that good stuff, jumps up to, for the same house, $595.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the Prestige is probably the biggest difference for me versus somebody over in your area, because we use a third-party lab.
Yeah.
But there is no third-party lab in Alaska.
Oh, so
I have to ship all those samples to Maryland.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
And rush all that stuff. And so it gets very pricey. So that same house, for the Prestige package, you could be talking anywhere between $900 and $1,000.
Okay. All right.
For an average size home. But again, we only recommend that if you have somebody in the house with respiratory issues that could help you with. Other than that, I don't get into it. So
yeah. So that's a good general range of how much it would cost, and I would be willing to venture a guess that that's probably similar. The prices are pretty close, I bet you, to what they're charging in this area.
Again, you got to look at same size house and that kind of stuff too. And then there's other things people will take into consideration too, like the age of the house.
Right.
If the house was built prior to 72. There's more things to look at, whether or not there might be asbestos in the house, or there may be knob and tube wiring, and that requires. So there's usually an upcharge for something that old, say an additional $50 or something like that. So just for folks to be aware of.
Right. Yeah. So I just want to say, so the tie-in here, I'll tell you that there's a lot of things that you do that helps us. When we're working on an insurance policy for somebody. So, our questions, so we have, if you've already had a home inspection, a lot of the questions that are going to be answered for the insurance, for the application, are going to be answered in a home, during that home inspection right now. So we ask questions like, how old is the roof? How old is the plumbing? What kind of electrical service do you have coming into the house? What kind of amps do you have? Is there knob and tube, wiring? And so a lot of the things that you're going over that are getting done in a home inspection are going to be very helpful to an insurance professional that's going to put together, a quote for you based on what your house looks like and in the condition of your house, I should say. So I was going to actually ask you about the knob and tube, because knob and tube here in New England is, for the older buildings, it's not too uncommon, but it's very, bad from an insurance standpoint, because a lot of the carriers and everyone I talk to say knob and tube is very safe. The house has been here 100 years and it's never had a fire. So what's the big deal? Why do I need to get rid of it? But that's not going to fly with any of our carriers. Matter of fact, you end up in the Mass Fair plan, which is going to cost you quite a bit of money, but it also costs you quite a bit of money to get rid of it. Just ask anyone. You guys have knob and tube, up there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I haven't seen it very often.
Yep.
It's a rare occasion that I'll see that. But yes, there is some of that here too.
Yeah. So again, that's kind of the tie-in here with the insurance side of things, because again, you're going to ask and you're going to be able to tell, your customer, which will hopefully be my customer, that the roof is, 15 years old. It's in good shape. It looks like it's going to last another 15 years or 20 years. The electrical system is up to code. There's no shenanigans with knob and tube or putting shelves in front of it where it's not supposed to be. So that's a great kind of connection to what the insurance piece will be.
Nice.
So with that, I think it's time to kind of jump into our other piece, unless there's more. I think there is a couple more things that we'll talk about towards the end here, but I do want to get through our segment about preparing for winter, because as I said, we're going to be preparing for winter. So I want to try and go through this list I'm sure there are a million lists. You can Google preparing for winter, and you'll find all kinds of things. But I put together a list of about 10-ish or so things, but Jamie has a few extra in there that are going to be very helpful if you're in Alaska and you're listening. So we'll start with number one, which is cleaning out those gutters. If the gutters are clean now, that'll be great in the spring, but it'll also be great in the winter, because you don't want anything, when we have a little bit of a warm spell. I know you don't in Alaska, but we get a little bit of warm spell and you get ice dams and you get problems. So we want to make sure that you clean out the gutters. Be careful, especially if you're up on a ladder. Don't go up on a ladder too high if you're not, supposed to be on a ladder. Be careful. All right.
Make sure your heating system is ready for winter. And here's the key with that one, right? Don't wait until winter to get your heating system ready for winter, because you're going to have a very hard time getting folks in there from heating companies to come in and do a service on your unit once the cold breaks in. Now they're busy, right?
Right.
So we do ours in the summer. I do mine in May. I get it serviced, get it cleaned, and change your filters. Change your filters, people. Okay? It's like wearing a mask. Change your filters, okay? Every 6 months. Yeah. Whether you're using it or not, every 6 months, change your filters.
Yeah. And I'm going to, if you're, go to the Pillar to Post Facebook page, the Bruff team, you'll see a little story about Jamie and changing his filters, actually. So
yes, you will.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Speaking of heat and your heating system, make sure your chimney is cleaned. So if you haven't had the chimney cleaned, it's very easy to start, throwing wood in there, and before you know it, you have a chimney fire, and that's not good because the creosote that's built up in there. So please make sure you have your chimney cleaned.
Right on. Storm doors and windows, get them in. If you use those kinds of things, I know they're very common in New England. They're not really common here.
Interesting.
Believe it or not. We have triple pane windows, and that's it.
But
if you got them, get them in.
Get them in. All right. So number 5 is the smoke detectors and the CO detectors. Make sure you've changed them. We just had the time change here last week, and everyone always knows that as well as losing or gaining sleep, you should be checking the batteries in your carbon monoxide detectors and your smoke detectors. Make sure they're all good to go.
I'm going to add a little something to that if I can.
Absolutely.
If you're not aware, smoke detectors are only rated to be good for 10 years. 10 years from the date of manufacture on the smoke detector.
Yep.
So pull that smoke detector down, check out the dates. If it's more than 10 years old, it's time to replace them.
So my 20-year-old house that I built, I should probably look at that, because
you should look at that.
Yeah. Okay.
Carbon monoxide detectors, 5 years.
Interesting. Okay.
They're separate. All right. Clean up that yard. Clean up the leaves, sticks. Put the patio furniture away. That stuff gets ruined during the winter. It gets blown around. It gets beat up, banged up. It's time to get that stuff put away in the shed or the garage, whichever one you do.
Which is what I'll probably be doing this weekend, just so you know. Check the weather stripping around your doors and windows. Now's the time to see if you have any air leaks coming in, because that's money going out the window or going out the door. Once you turn the heat on, you want to make sure that all of those windows and doors are sealed properly.
Right on. Speaking of sealed up, make sure your outside faucets are shut down for the winter time. And if you can get those little styrofoam covers to put over your hose bibs and whatnot, those are great too.
Yep. We don't want any frozen pipes down there, that's for sure.
No.
All right. Make sure your thermostat is working properly. It'll also help you save money. So, we were talking about, making sure your heating system is up and running before it gets cold. Same thing. Make sure your thermostats are running. There are dozens of new thermostats that you can get programmed to your phone. We have the Ecobees here in our house. Nest makes them. They all make them right now. That they're really great for helping control the heat and making it so that you can save some money, actually.
Right on. Mark out your driveway for plowing, or get the snowblower ready. Don't break it out, Pat.
Yeah, I know. It's a long-running joke here with me. They know that if I take the snowblower out, it's going to snow, so it's not out yet. Or if I put it away, it's going to snow. Either way, I lose.
Either way. I'll add a little something to that, not just mark off your driveway, but something that's very common here if you live in Alaska, or if you have a septic system versus city sewer. If you have a septic system, flag your pipes out in the yard.
Okay.
The reason for that is if you have a problem with your septic system during the winter, and here we could have 3 feet of snow in January. If you got a problem with your septic system, now the septic guy can't find your pipes because they're buried in snow. So put those nice big flags up like you do on the end of your driveway so you know where the edge of your driveway is. Do the same thing around your pipes if you have a septic system.
Interesting. Good to know. Good to know. Here's another interesting one. If you have ceiling fans in your house, if you reverse the ceiling fans for the winter, they say it's supposed to help produce an updraft, pushing down the heat. You know, as everyone knows, heat rises. And if you have the ceiling fans reversed, it's going to push that heat back down and keep you warm.
Anything to help with the efficiency of the heating is good.
Exactly.
Check the insulation in your attic, especially if you're seeing ice damming on the edge of your roof. You not only want to check the insulation and the level of it, but you also want to check that the ventilation is good in the attic space. So you don't have so much insulation in there that it's blocking your soffits, not allowing air to flow through. That's actually a bigger problem than the actual amount of insulation. So check that out. Make sure you got good airflow and enough insulation in the attic.
Yep. Now is also a good time to head out and buy salt and sand or whatever product that you use to keep the sidewalks clear. If you have steps, you want to make sure that you have, some kind of product that you can put down in the event that it gets icy out there. You don't want anybody to fall. You don't want the mailman falling. You don't want to fall. You don't want the kids falling. We don't want anybody falling. But now is the time to make sure that the shovels are ready and you have all the proper equipment or product to combat the ice, because it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah. All right, you had a few other things, I think, Jamie, to add to that list.
Oh yeah, a couple things I'll add in, especially if you're in Alaska or you're in an extremely cold climate like Michigan, Wisconsin, that kind of stuff. But everybody has exterior outlets on their house to keep their vehicles plugged in at night when it gets well below zero. So you want to check and make sure that those outlets are currently working properly. And if they're exterior outlets, they must be GFCI protected outlets if they're outside, and they must be covered. So check those out, make sure they're in good shape. Metal roofs are very common here. I'm not sure how common they are back in Massachusetts or I'm sure there's some.
Actually, they are starting to be. There's a lot more of them around than there used to be, that is for sure.
Excellent. So if you have a metal roof, check the snow breaks or the snow guards on the roof to make sure they're in good shape. So you usually have a snow break or snow guards, usually above doorways and that kind of stuff. So large chunks of snow don't come down at one time when somebody's walking out a door.
Right.
They have those breaks up there to break it up when it's coming down. Make sure those are all there and in good shape and aren't damaged from last winter.
Okay.
Marking your septic tanks. We talked about that along with your driveways. Up here, there's a lot of snow blowers, but I tell you, a lot of people use their four-wheelers with a plow on the front to make sure they can keep their driveway clear. That's what I use. Nice. So it's a good time to get the oils changed and all that good stuff in your wheelers or your snow machine or your snow blowers, whatever you use. Make sure they're ready to go. And finally, for us here, check your exterior lights of your house. Make sure they're working. The bulbs are all good, because pretty soon here we'll only have about 3.5 hours of daylight.
Yep.
And it's tough when you got the pizza guy coming up and he can't see the ice on your porch because your lights don't work. So
right.
Make sure your exterior lights are working right now. That's all I got for that list.
There you go. So that's a pretty good list. So that should there's a lot in there, and I'm sure there are a lot more things that folks have and that they normally do. And if you can think of those and you see this post on Facebook or wherever you're looking at it, add yours to the list of things that you should be getting ready or things you should be doing to prepare for winter. So thanks a lot, Jamie. This is so one of the things that we do at the Local and Mighty podcast is towards the end, we have a segment that is called That Is Just Not True. That is just not true is one of those things we hear from our customers or we read on the internet about insurance that is just simply not true. Today's simple that's just not true, since we're heading into the winter month, is about Coverage? Actually, see, people are going to know I goofed because I was reading, and that's not what it was supposed to be. But needless to say, actually, this this episode's "That's Just Not True" is actually something that we hear a lot when folks are coming to get insurance for their house. And one of the things that we hear is, I only need insurance on my home for what I can sell it for. So I'm sure you guys hear kind of the same thing up in Alaska. You know, somebody buys a house, they buy the house for $150,000. And so they come to us, they bring the inspection report, they got all the information, and they say, I just need insurance for $150,000. And we have to tell them that's just not true. That's just not how it works. There's no correlation between the market value and the replacement value, which is what we use to put together an insurance policy for you. The market value generally reflects the home's desirability in the market as to where you're located, and it might quite possibly have a higher market value than the insured value, or even a lower market value than the insured value versus the replacement cost value. So anytime you hear someone say, I only need this much, or I bought a house for this much and it only cost me, X, generally speaking, they're all different. As most of you know, I'm sure the same as in Alaska, correct? Like,
it's really bad this year because the cost of lumber is so high because of everything that happened this year. So
no kidding.
Build a house will cost you a lot more money than what it'll cost you to buy an existing house. That's I believe it. And we're having the same issue here actually with lumber. So,
but we're a little closer to where you can get it versus you. So Jamie, before we wrap up, tell me some ways on how we can find you, how the folks in Alaska can find you, or actually anywhere can find you.
Right. So if you're anywhere but Alaska, you can go to pillartopost.com. And when you go there, you can put your zip code in, and it will give you a list of all of the local Pillar to Post home inspectors in your area. If you're coming to Alaska, there's only 2 of us. And the other gentleman's getting ready to retire. So you're pretty much going to find me.
There you go.
So you can go to pillartopost.com/Jamie Bruff, and you'll go directly to my website. Or you can find us on Facebook at pillartopost.com, the Bruff team. It's not .com on there. Pillar to Post Home Inspectors, the Bruff team is how you'll find us on Facebook.
Okay.
It's really not hard to find. We got a pretty big presence up here on our Facebook page, so we're pretty easy to find.
Great.
That's it.
All right, great. So that is going to be a wrap. Thank you, Jamie, very much for getting up when you normally do to Zoom to conduct our first Zoom podcast session, if you will.
My pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. It was great talking to you. We hope that we have made this fun and informative. Please take a minute to subscribe to this podcast and share it with anyone that you think would benefit from listening. We're on all of the podcast places. You can find us: Stitcher, Apple, you name it, Google. You can find us there, Spotify. Remember, if you're looking for insurance here in Massachusetts for your home, auto, or any commercial operation, you can find us at insuringyourway.com. And of course, you can find us on any of our social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you are listening, make sure you stay safe, wear a mask, practice social distancing, and wash your hands. Thank you for listening to the Fink and Paris Insurance Podcast, local and mighty. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good day, guys. Thank you.